Okay, so welcome. We're going to start off by Kaiser just opening this out and setting the scene for us, and then we're going to come back to the panel, and I will chair and moderate and facilitate this, and we'll introduce ourselves for about 2 minutes and the reason why we're here. So, Kaiser, would you like to say a few words before?
If I have to. Okay, so I think we all know why we're here today. I think you've seen it advertised, but we felt it was important because a lot of people of colour have been having these discussions in private, only amongst other people of colour, complaining, offloading, needing to be held in a situation where they felt discriminated against, or they have felt unsupported by the wider community. And it's time that we have this conversation in public. It's time that we try to think of ways to move forward as a community and not feel marginalised. So that's some of the reasons why we've called this discussion here today for our fantastic panellists. And I hope you'll be joining in the discussion and also thinking of ways that we can move forward together as a community and find solutions. So thank you all for being here.
Okay, thank you very much for being here. Let me start. My name's Phil. I like to be known as Lady Phil, not because I think I'm the highest femme going, but because that's my name, that's how I go by. And I am the director and co-founder of UK Black Pride. So UK Black Pride, many of you will know, I hope you know, is an organisation which sets out to really look at the issues of not just challenging homophobia, but challenging the systemic racism that's within our community. It's also a celebration where people come together to, to just be themselves without feeling that the fingers are being pointed at them. And it was created because of a necessity, a need, a frustration of not seeing themselves or ourselves in the wider LGBT community, mainstream community, other prides. So whilst you've got London Pride, Manchester Pride, Birmingham Pride, all of those activities and those prides are great, but they weren't truly intersectional. They didn't look at the diverse and the nuances and the challenges that Black, Asian, African, Caribbean people had. So we looked at UK Black Pride and said, how do we ensure that our voices are amplified to the max? How do we ensure that we're able to celebrate, but also, whilst challenging homophobia and biphobia and transphobia, that we could also challenge the issues of racism? So with that, we've had lots of conversations in UK Black Pride, and Kaiser, who she didn't mention, that she's put on this event today from UK Black Pride, and it's important that we have these discussions. So I'm not going to hold the mic up, but we've got, a wonderful panel for you here, and there's going to be a lot of discussion, and there will be points at which some people may feel uncomfortable. And I've always said, when people start to feel uncomfortable, it means that we're starting to usualise or normalise the subject, because we've got to feel uncomfortable in order to realise that we've got to do something about it. So I'm going to start from my left, because I'm always to the left politically anyways. Sorry, on the right. And I'm also going to be that very strict facilitator that, because we do have a limited amount of time, we want to be able to get questions from the audience. So a quick, 1-2 minute introduction of who you are, your background, and why this is important for you to be here. Thank you.
My name is Thomas, and I originally got involved with nightclubs that invited, attracted, and facilitated black gay audience, and basically it happened pretty much by accident. I was the manager of the Fridge nightclub, and at the time there was another smaller club called The Box, also in Brixton. And the owner of that club was looking for something to do with that venue. And I also happened to know a few people around the area who were looking for something that was not mainstream, that played to their particular musical tastes. So I just invited a couple of those DJs, and we started at The Box. And that is basically the beginning of what I would call the overground or the public gay scene catering for black gay people. Fast forward 25 years, and I'm here still running one of those venues and one of those club brands called Bootylicious, and also a club manager, a venue manager for one of those places where black gay people are welcome.
Hi everyone, I'm Jason. I go by the name of JJ Revlon, and I co-founded English Breakfast London, which is London-based to do with ballroom. So if you don't know ballroom, everything about voguing. So from DJing to putting on balls. So I've been putting on balls since 2016. But prior to that, I used to go to the club a lot from a very young age. Know Thomas very well. Ran up before security comes. And yeah, so I basically do these, I do open classes, and I'm very community based in terms of, educating about ballroom. So yeah, I come from like a Vogue, dance, party background and the DJ. Bam.
Hi, my name is Cartel Brown. I'm also known by the name of DJ Fire. I came to London in 2005 at the age of 16 years old, and I DJ'd my first gay dancehall party in a gay hostel in Lordship Park, Finsbury Park, by the name of 41. Since then, I've gone on to DJ predominantly within the LGBT community where dancehall is concerned, so very much within the Jamaican LGBT community. But since then, I've also held residencies at Bootylicious, Caravana, Hustlers and Divas, some of the more widely and popular LGBT club nights for black and other LGBT members of the community. I feel this discussion is long overdue. This is a discussion that should have been had some time, but better late than never. And more recently, I made a film documenting London's LGBT dancehall scene, Full Vice and Noisy, which is currently out now. And yeah, that's me. Thank you.
Did it work? Hey. Hi, my name's Yvonne. I've been a promoter, DJ. I also work in bars, clubs and venues, a bit like Thomas. But I've been in London for 37 years. So, and I arrived here, and 2 weeks after I got here, I was like, something's got to change. And that was particularly for the women's scene for me. It was more about that because back in the day, the scenes didn't really cross over. And certainly the women's scene was all broken down into different, left, right, black, white. It was just long. Crap music was the main thing I remember. But 37 years later, I'm still promoting, and I think my niche has always been about boutique type parties because, the sort of people that most of us kind of get are not visible on the main gay scene, and even within this sort of smaller community, there's still different groups of, what kind of music you like. Do I do R&B? Do I do house? Do I do, gospel or whatever it is? And that's always created a problem for me as a promoter because even though I am a lesbian, I definitely see myself as a human being, and I feel like I should be able to go to any club, any venue that I want to go to. Clearly that's not happened in 37 years, so that's why I'm still promoting and that's why we're still doing what we do, because otherwise nothing would be happening. What I would say is that over the last 37 years, my work within sort of like bars and clubs has definitely helped me to kind of secure some reliable, safe venues But I think if I didn't have access to those people, you know, I wouldn't have been able to, the women wouldn't have been able to sort of move forward in the types of venues we were given access to, which mostly pubs that were seedy and, just not correct. Don't know what I'm to say about myself, but that's genuinely, you know, like I said, I've been here for 37 years, I've seen some major changes. You know, I still promote, I still work in the bars and clubs, so I'm still seeing all the different angst that come up for the younger generation that are coming forward now. And so for me, this discussion is imperative. It's kind of time we kind of got to a point where we don't have to rely on these big club owners to kind of give us a blight. And like, they don't want to give it us, you know, we don't make them enough money, we're not the right people, whatever they, you know, that is. And so that's why I'm glad we're having this conversation. Thank you.
Say it.
Okay, so my name is Calvin, also known as DJ BDC, and I was actually asked to come and open this, so I've written down a whole long thing, so please bear with me whilst I read it out. Okay, so I want to share with you how I've seen the London black scene develop in my experience, starting way back in the early 80s to the present. 3 things that bring together everything I want to share with you are the music, people who were like me, the reception one would get at these events. Firstly, it was a need to hear music we wanted to hear, be it hip-hop, R&B, soca or reggae. However, there were a few clubs that popped up, one called Stallions on a Friday night, catering to our taste, where there would be a significant black and brown presence, and we would go along because the music was what we wanted there, and there were people that looked like us. This was very important, as one was more at ease around one's peers, and you knew they understood you. On a personal level, I didn't always feel comfortable in those spaces, as on arrival, the bouncers would look me up and down and say, "You know this is a gay club." And I'd be like, "No, really?" If that wasn't bad enough, there was always somebody approaching me as to where they could get weed or pills. I remember this one woman asking me where I could get pills. I was like, "From your doctor?" This used to annoy the hell out of me. I guess I never conformed to their stereotype of a black man. Soon enough, I was holding house parties, and eventually I was asked to play at various clubs, namely Fruit Machine at Heaven and Lowdown, which was on Oxford Street, which Thomas forgets, which was before the Vox. So it was great playing at these events, as I was able to play what I had grown up with and what was current at the time in black music. It was comfortable and what I had yearned for. I could look out at the crowd and see people just like me, and it felt good. Clubs came and went throughout the 90s and the noughties, but the club that really stood out for me was the Pressure Zone in the early 90s at the Vox in Brixton. This was the first time black music had been given such a huge platform on the gay scene. We had 2 floors of music and crowds of up to 1,000 people. Fun times until the bouncers beat the crap out of a straight boy who picked a fight with a woman. The guy left the club bloodied and came back with a gun and fired a couple of shots, and the place emptied in about 10 seconds flat. That was a scary night, and the Pressure Zone didn't survive much longer after that. After the Vox, I found a venue in New Cross, which I called Big Things, and ran a night there for about 6 months to much success. Back then, there wasn't all the red tape of nowadays, so it was easy to approach a club and ask to put on a night. But as time went on, black music got associated with violence, and so sure enough, proprietors didn't want the hassle, so it was harder to secure premises for such nights. There were clubs like Ghetto Fabulous, Caravana, Hustlers and Divas, Blessings, Shugs. They all had black promoters and had a modicum of success. But the most successful and long-lasting space catering to black music has to be Bootylicious, which started way back in 2000 and still survives till now. I'm not going to hate on Booty, as I've been a part of it for a long time, but I've always asked the question as to why black promoters were not able to get the success or longevity of clubs like Booty or Saturday Night at Heaven. What stops us getting together and taking ownership of what ultimately is ours? Of course, Clubland is a business and a money-making thing, but without the love and understanding of what it is we are doing, I think it gets lost in translation. This is my personal experience, and there are many gaps, but what I'm saying in this history needs to be recognised and recorded as our stories need to be told. This continuing struggle to find success and support from the commercial scene is for me in these times quite troublesome and exhausting. My experience is people wanting the content but excluding me from what I have worked so hard to develop and grow over the years. I know there is no simple answer to this, but hopefully this talk tonight goes some way to addressing these issues. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Danny. My professional name is DJ Duma, and I'm a DJ, a musician, and a community organizer within the queer and general Latin American community in London. Myself and a friend started a new night for queer Latin Americans by queer Latin Americans called Maricumbia. At the moment, our space is in East, which means we have to close quite early, so at the moment it's mostly like a dance night and an open mic. But hopefully we're going to move on to a club night, but that is part of the conversation as to why that is quite difficult to do. Today I'm here to explore with these lovely people possible solutions and even hopefully commitments to change from our allies. We as BME LGBT people are responding to a lack of spaces and also the effects of gentrification on the ways our nights are viewed and appreciated or taken over by a problematic white crowd. This is a real opportunity to show the agency we have in building and managing our scene and opening it up to less privileged BME LGBT people. I mean specifically trans and disabled people. I'd also like to explore access barriers. Obviously this is one that's quite close to my heart because I can't get into a lot of spaces I'm invited to actually work in as a wheelchair user. And it also like a lot to hold a night, especially if they think you're niche, and that means poor people can't get in because the entrance fee is too high. So yeah, I'd like to explore also sponsorship and what else white people can do to support the work we do. And Hazel said white people are a problem, which is quite vague, but it's true. Kind of debunking the political talk, the identity talk to very practical solutions, which includes tokenization. I feel like, especially as Latin America is actually the second biggest, was becoming the second biggest ethnic minority in London, but we're very tokenized to the point we have to compete with each other to get spaces and to be profitable. And we're also marketed in quite a dehumanizing way sometimes, which we've had to fight quite a lot against, or just called tropical, so people don't feel like they won't be able to dance because they can't dance to our music. They don't know how to, so they call it tropical beats to be as vague as possible. And yeah, finally, I'd like to explore, which I said before, sponsorship, but also like commitment to paying people, to doing events, to DJing, and to generally organising BME, club nights and so on. Thank you.
Hello. My name's Kim. My stage name is Miss Kimberly. I'm American, as you probably can tell. I've been here for a few years. I started in Madame Jojo's doing a cabaret with Ruby Venezuela. Then I went on to Heaven Nightclub, and then after leaving Heaven, finished my studying in musical theater. And now I'm doing cabaret, and I've recently just got back into acting as well. I'm one of the leads in a new series called Spectrum East. When I got the phone call about this, I was quite happy to be involved somehow because I think I find that on the scene, yes, there is a few racial issues we need to discuss, but I do feel that sometimes people don't get to know each other properly. I do think also with a few I gotta be very careful where I go with this, but I do feel that some Caucasian promoters do exploit the black scene. I had a racial incident way back, and when a black person says to someone that I was in a racial incident, I really do feel they should have listened. I don't think people really took it serious. This promoter in question actually got a little bit annoyed at me and actually sent me a text calling me Uncle Tom. Now, if you're going to call me Uncle Tom and you're going to run a club for people of color, something is not right there. So anyway, I will leave it there.
Thank you very much to our panelists for the introduction. You know, I heard loads out of that, from safety to being political, access to particular bars, clubs and barriers and prevention from getting in, exploitation of black and BME, and when I say BME, I mean black and minority ethnic. Some people use the term as well, BAME, black and Asian minority ethnic. And when we use the term POC, that is people of colour, and the LGBTQI is lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer and intersex. So I know sometimes we use acronyms and abbreviations and we kind of get lost in that. Some people don't like labels, but for the purposes of this discussion, it's helpful to, you know, identify as you wish to identify. I'm not going to tell anyone you've got to use the term black, whether it's in its political sense or not. Now, I'm going to sort of jump straight in there because we've got, you know, over 100 years of experience. You know, I'm not calling you old because we've got our youngsters here as well, but I'm just talking about, okay, Yvonne, this is why I put Yvonne to sit next to me. I knew she'd be trouble. But we've got years and years of experience on the scene. Now, have we been having this conversation before, or is it only now? You know, what is it that's becoming so rife that we're feeling the need to talk about some of the issues that we face on the scene or access to the scene? So I'm going to throw it out and just say, is there really racism on the LGBTQI scene? Or is it just, you know, us as black people saying because we don't have maybe some of the access to funding and so forth, why we're complaining? So I'm going to throw that.
Racism.
Yeah, you can answer.
I tell you racism. Yeah, as I said, I work in clubs and bars, so I get to see the kind of clientele they're happy to rent their spaces out to. And way back in the day, even trying to get a women's party into a venue was difficult enough. You know, I ran probably the first kind of what I want to describe as black urban women's party at the South London Women's Centre for the best part of 7 years. That because and that was a very different club to what was happening. We couldn't even get into those dodgy old nasty pubs in Islington or wherever they were happening or wherever they were. We couldn't even get into those. And still to this day, you know, I know that if I'm promoting a venue, I genuinely have to go via user-friendly club owners. You know, I can't just turn up at a door or make an appointment and say I've come to take your club out for hire, because they'll just take one look at me and go, oh no, that looks like trouble. It's the way it is, you know. How do we get around that? We need our own space.
I mean, you just use the term user-friendly club owners. Some people may not understand that. What do you mean by user-friendly? And what is not user-friendly?
Okay, so, you know, those that are not user-friendly are the ones that can't really cope with anything that doesn't look like the straight male pink shirt wearing hetero. You know, if a black man, black woman, person of colour turns up and says, I want to run the same party, but, you know, it's going to be same-sex, I quite often find that they suddenly become not very friendly. And that's basically what I'm referring to in terms of not being user-friendly. And there's a lot of those people around.
Yeah, there is racism in, I feel like, the LGBT community, to be honest. To be honest, it's really annoying because from my perspective, okay, so I'm quite new in running nights, so I started January last year, and just going straight from there. But I always find this brick wall that I mostly call cartel about, that annoys me a lot, is that I always have a venue that will see me do something or see something online or read some sort of Time Out article or something, and then go, oh, I want you in the space, blah, 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 and then you start explaining what you do. Oh, I Vogue. Oh, I do Vogue balls, da, 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 da. They'll be like, oh, what kind of people are going to be here? How many security guards do we need? Da, 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 da. I'm like, how much YouTube do you watch? Like, in a ball, there is no security guards. Except for maybe in the US, they're a bit feisty. But other than that, like, it's all healthy, it's all controllable. They just seem to see, well, they see me and be like, oh, so how do you, and all this other stuff. I'm like, you don't need to know my age. Just let me know, you want me in your space. Let me do my thing. Or they always try to put barriers up, which annoys me. So I hate, well, I'm not really fond of like logistics and stuff. I'm just like, if I can do it, I'm just gonna do it. But people always do this thing of like numbers, and you know, like in school where you had to like, there had to be 2 teachers for every 10 people or some sort. So in like school field trips, it's not the same situation. If your space can hold 250 people and you need 2 security guards, just make it happen. I just find like a lot of venues that want me to be there just put loads of difficulties in place. Like, you know, I'm very on with like when I organise events, and for someone to say to me, you know, I will control your ticket sales, I will take the cost out of your ticket sales, and then I'll pay you 30 days from then. I'm like, hold on, I just did 3 months of like promotion, like, are you being for real? And then you're gonna think I'm gonna be like, yeah, let's do it, it's gonna be fine. No, like, it's not. And that's another, and even when you get into a venue, so there's a situation that happened with me. So I got into a venue, did this sick, I'm not over, it was sick. I did a sick club night, and it's like a really good niche bar.
Sick, as in...
Oh, sorry, sick, sorry. And you can tell, I just say how it is. So sick means good. I'm 25, so I'm sad all the way. So yeah, I did a really good club night, and it was really good. We came together and danced. And what happened was, it was such a success that, you know, I was getting told, like, you know, I really want you back, we should set up another date, blah, 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 blah. Went to set up the date now, and then they're like, oh, we have to cancel, oh, we double booked. I said, you know you didn't have nothing there. Like, that's why you gave me the date. You were so willing to say, this is available, do you want it? I say yes, ready to promote, do flyers, contact Calvin, join a DJ, and I have to turn around the next day or week after and be like, oh, you know what, it got cancelled. And I've been told many times, like, the certain club that I was using, the owner are not really fond of, you know, black promoters. And it's not the first promoter to say it to me. I just thought, oh, you know, unless I see it for myself, I won't really say anything. But, you know, I saw it for myself and I'm just like, hold on. And then I started messaging them and being like, you know, when we're going to do this, blah, 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 blah. And I felt like a beggar. I'm like, no shade, but I will go to whatever venue. I'd rather just go to the venue I really know instead of trying to give these other venues my business.
So thank you, JJ. That sort of leads me on to the question, and this is, you know, probably for Danny, Calvin, Thomas, Cartel. We talk about exploitation and black promoters. Have you got experiences of how you feel the black BME, BAME, people of colour community have been exploited over the years?
I better point out first, I'm not black, and I'm not here to speak on behalf of anybody who is black. My background is Indian Irish, but I've been part of this scene for many years, and I've contributed to it musically. There is a real problem with exploitation. We have promoters who have profited from the BAME LGBT community over the years. And I feel like we're at a point now where if you're taking from the scene, you've got to be giving something back to the scene. We've reached a point where our young LGBT people don't just need a club night, we need education within those club nights, because in my experience is where I transformed from a young boy to a man in club life. And for a lot of young people from the LGBTBAME scene, clubs are a lifeline. They're not just places you go and listen to music and dance. It's where you may encounter your first sexual experience. It's where you may come into contact with drugs. Like, there needs to be lots of things in place, not just a DJ like myself or Biggie. Like, it needs to be like a multi-agency thing. So, for instance, you know, you may have something like Urban World Pride, which is a huge event, 2,000 people, Scala every month, £16 a ticket. Now, bear in mind that a lot of these people who pay to go into this are probably not working, you know, haven't got that disposable income, but find £16 to go into this club every night. I just feel that as a promoter, you need to be responsible and put some of that money back into the community to encourage these young people to kind of pursue their ambitions and dreams, because that is also a key issue, is we haven't got enough influencers who are influencing people the right way. And what's happened over the years within the BAME LGBT scene, it's been pushed further and further underground, which has made it more risky and more unsafe. It's why, you know, up until when I first come, 2005, if you had like gone to a black person and asked them about drugs, they wouldn't even be able to tell you anything about drugs. That was something very much associated with the White House scene. Yeah. But now what's happened, because black venues and black nights have kind of been closed down, when we talk about racism, we have to look at like the Metropolitan Police, the 696 form, how that's used within LGBT, BAME community. You know, I was DJing for an event called Bad Bitches. I had to send 2 bank statements, a passport, just to be able to DJ at this event because there was dancehall being played. So it's not just coming from promoters, it's coming from the police, it's coming from the councils. They're doing everything to push this underground. And what I would say is the further you push it underground, this is why we have, you know, high rates of sexual health problems within the community. This is why we have drugs problems in the community. Because with the, I mean, Phil, you'll know, from back in the day when I first came, I worked with a particular group of Jamaican LGBT people who were not fighting to get into commercial spaces. They were very entrepreneurial and was like, fuck the mainstream, we're gonna do our own thing. So we basically got community centres, church halls, and that's where we had our parties. And about 500-600 people would turn up. And it was only then, because the mainstream venues saw that we were getting such high numbers, that I was started to be propositioned to play in clubs. So that's how I came into contact with Bootylicious, Caravana, Hustlers and Divas, because they wanted me to come and try and bring something there. So that's just, yeah, I've probably gone off topic, but I feel like if we're going to look at this, we need to look at it from all angles, and we need to be able to call people out within the community who do profit from the community. And even if you can't give back financially to the community, you have to be bringing something to the table, and that's my thoughts.
Okay, no, it was very relevant and it wasn't off topic. I think that sometimes we find real challenges in funding, in looking at how we can access particular places and venues, but are always having the doors shut in our faces. And then when we do see other nights, which are not necessarily run by us, but are for us, it becomes frustrating when you can see the money going in, but not necessarily going back into the community to look at some of these education programs, the awareness sessions and so forth. Now, we talk about racism, and I think, you know, Yvonne, you touched on it, when we talk about sexism as well, because I think sometimes we look at our communities, and we're not in a monolithic community. There is sexism, misogyny, there's other issues of discrimination, disability discrimination. How can we start to address some of those matters? And I'm looking to, you know, Danny and Miss Kimberly, you know, about addressing some of those access to barriers based on people's intersections of who they are.
You know, I'm always thinking, how can we do that? I mean, yes, you want to educate as many people as you can. Well, how do you do that? I guess, you know, doing magazine articles and like we're doing this today. Unfortunately, you know, the whole entire LGBT community can't be here. I do feel it is a struggle because I do think you have some people who don't want to be educated. I think you have people who, from the Caucasian community, well, white is right, and that's all I need. So it's going to be quite difficult. But you know, what I say to a lot of people, the black community, you know, the ethnic community, the transgender community, the lesbian community, you know, in America, I can remember, you know, my mom is a doctor in education, so I had a lot of, you know, information about just everything growing up. And I can remember her having this discussion with, I think it was one of Malcolm X's children or something. Anyway, basically, the black community in America, they took the initiative. Well, you know, if you're not going to let us in your nightclub, or you're not going to let us do this, then we are going to stick together and we're going to do it ourselves. And that's the attitude that the Americans have. And I try to talk about that being here in England, that I think we should have more of that attitude, because, you know, I was talking to a friend recently from Malaysia, and his blonde hair boyfriend broke up with him, and he was so upset because he's not going to find a blonde hair boyfriend because no one likes Asians. I'm like, honey, get on and live your life. Forget what they like. You know, you need to be who you are. Don't try to fit in with these people. You know, it's you know, be who you are. And you know, and anyway, I lost my track of thought. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is, you know, if we cannot get some of the Caucasian people to come on board with us, then let them get on and do what they have to do. Let's stick together and do it ourselves. That's what I want to say. You know, when I first came to this country, there was this I don't know, there was some kind of friction between the Jamaican and African community, which I thought, I just didn't understand it. But I'm so happy that the younger generation have actually come together, and that's becoming something of the past. So anyway, that's what I want to say.
So the question was about barriers, right? So I don't always have to use my chair, and so that means for those rare moments that I don't have to, I see a huge difference in how I'm treated by fellow organisers, club nights and stuff like that, where it's like I feel like I don't have to prove myself as much, you know. And there's a lot of ableism. You're called, like, you know, people, like, you can see them talking about themselves being like, you're a special snowflake. You know, like within the QTIPOC community as well, people be like, well, I like this venue. It took me a long time to get this venue, so, you know, you can go somewhere else. I'm like, I think that people have this assumption that, you know, black and BME, queer people that are disabled are an extreme minority. We're really not. Like, the amount of, like, disabled people in the queer community generally is huge, whether it's invisible or not. So when you're discriminating against us, so we can't get into the club, and you're saying, I'll carry you down the stairs, I'm like, okay, I don't know if your insurance cover that. You know, I'm quite heavy. I think that's, you know, it's seeing people as profit. And our biggest problem starting up was accessibility, and people, I could kind of see them rolling their eyes, being like, oh, you know, we won't charge you, but, you know, we might get a ramp in the future. I'm like, you're making a fortune every day. You can get a ramp tomorrow, a good one. Like, you can actually obey the law. It's actually the law to do your best to make it accessible. It really isn't that much of a problem. So that is why we got a venue that finishes at 11 p.m, because we couldn't get a venue that doesn't, and I could get in. So yeah, the main point is funding, you know, funding access, and just seeing us as human beings who are as attractive and talented as everyone else. Access for trans people is a big issue in the gay community, obviously, and you know, it breaks my heart when you have someone and you think your night has gone well, and they come up to you and they're like, I got harassed, I got this, I got that. That's why we got a venue with no security. The security is the person who works behind the bar, and she's great. And you know, our venue is run by like trans and gender non-conforming people as well, our night. So I think with barriers, it's also kind of prioritising organisers who are minorities as well. You know, I think there is massive respectability politics when it comes to like, you know, black queer people. You know, it's like, oh, my friend's friend who's really big, as opposed to, you know, this young kid who's just started DJing but is actually really talented. So like tokenization is super harmful. Like I'm always like the token, like disabled, you know, Afro-Latino person. People are really excited when they hear about that. They're like, I'll invite you to do this, I'll invite you to do that. I'm like, there are more of us out there, you know, and I'm having to like drag my community through it behind me, you know, who aren't also like English speakers. Is your night accessible to non-English speakers, or is your bouncer going to kick people out or not let them in if they can't communicate properly, and stuff like that. So that was really on a tangent. I've got a lot of feelings about it.
And while you were talking, I was thinking, you know, it goes back to what I was saying earlier about all of us getting to know each other, education. You know, when these kids turn up to a club, you know, I always say the tone of your club starts from the top. If you have an owner who has a good heart, just a nice person, that filters all the way down. That's one way. Also, I think it's really important when you have a LGBTQI club, it's always good to have, I know some people are not going to agree with me, but I'm saying this for a reason. It's really good to have queer doormen, or doormen who are queer friendly. It is
not men. Yes.
Well, that's another. But yeah, I think it's, and I do agree. I think personally, I think it should be mixed. I think you should have women at the door who are open to men and men who are open to women. It's about getting to know each other, and it's about respect. You know, there is a way to talk to people. I have been to some doors and I just want to slap the doorman, so I have to walk away because these doormen, like the police we have in America, you know, are so trigger happy. You still have that here. You know, when you go to a door. Oh, I got 1 minute. Am I talking too much? Okay. Well, anyway, just have queer people at your door. Okay, fine.
Can I come in here? Elaine, I wanted to come to your question. It's unfortunate that those things were happening in your club, but what can I say?
Uncup your mic. So
Sorry?
You're not DJing now.
Yeah. Okay. No. Yeah, it's unfortunate what's been happening in your and as a DJ, I can say I definitely do care about people fighting in clubs. I mean, there's been many a time when I've myself jumped off of the DJ booth and jumped down into the audience. You know, stop the music and stop fights. You know, there's even people on this panel that have been fighting, and I've jumped off and had to stop them fighting too. You know, unfortunately, these things happen, and I don't know. I don't know what the solution is, but you know, I wish there was less of the violence. And for me, I'm gonna get killed here, but I find it's more the women fighting, and I never understood that. No, honestly, it's there hasn't. I've played in a lot of lesbian events and whatnot, and I've seen some crazy fights, and I have to wonder, these people left their house to come out and fight? I just can't understand it. So don't think that us as DJs don't care, because we do. And I wish there was an easy solution to it, because it's my livelihood as well. I want to be playing there. I want to be playing in your venues forever. Do you know what I mean? But I don't know what the solution is.
Can I just say really quickly, there's a lot of angry people in our community, and I think that has a lot to do with it. So I think we need to actually tackle that, and then move on from there.
I think you're absolutely right, Ms. Kimberly. When we talk about the fighting, we're a community that are hurt by some things because we're dealing with some pain and some trauma and some issues which haven't quite been addressed. So, but that doesn't excuse fighting, absolutely doesn't, or venues being smashed up. But I also think that there's some healing that needs to be done in the communities and some bridge building. But Thomas and then JJ.
Can I just add as well, though?
But you're going to be quick because I'm going to get strict.
You know, in straight clubs there's fighting and violence as well, but they don't seem to get shut down until
Caucasian
people
clubs
die.
as well.
Okay, but we can then use the subject of talking about privilege, about, you know, straight clubs, access to venues and what they have in terms of their funding and their money that gets circulated round and how they put things in place to address the issues.
Right.
We have not come from a place of privilege.
Right.
And I think that that's part of it. Not that I'm shutting you down. You guys are the experts. I just think that there is some other underlying. Thomas, JJ and Cartel?
Yeah, with regards to violence in black gay clubs, it's not actually unique phenomenon. I speak now as a venue manager, and I have to say that some of the most vicious fights that I've seen recently had nothing to do with either lesbians or with gay people or anything like that. But I understand your concern. This is very much, it's heartbreaking when you spend long hours putting something together, a project together, and then someone comes along and thoughtlessly just mashes everything up. It's an absolute, it really is a killer. And I've seen it many times, even from day one, remembering the Vox in Brixton, we used to have fighting there every time. It was practically every time. And Biggie was one of the bouncers whenever it happened, basically. But it was a learning curve for everybody because I would get involved with these people. I don't know these people, but I would get involved with those people. I would talk to them about what are you doing, why are you doing it, why are you mashing up this place, which is the only place in London right now where you can go. So what is your motivation? And don't you think it's time to show some respect to all the other people who paid money to come here, not to see you fight, but to have a good time together? So that was the attitude that I have. You have to talk to everyone who is involved in that kind of fighting. I have 1 minute. The second one is to do with accountability. Technically, in terms of the law, the venue owner, the DPS, is responsible for everything that happens at the door, inside the club. It's a bit of a minefield because whenever you have any kind of discussion with licensing or with the police, they have the big stick. They can close it down just like that. There is no warning, there's nothing. They can do it and they will do it. They have done it. For instance, when you say straight clubs don't get closed down, well, number 65 was closed down. Yeah, but only after because the police really wanted it to be closed down. It wasn't after the event, it was after they set it up so that they could close it down. So you're dealing with authorities that are nebulous. You're dealing with bureaucracy that is unapproachable. There are no forums, it's quite right, there is no forum that you can go to and say, this and this is happening, can we do something about it? They won't listen. Okay.
I'm going to be quick, I'm going to try to use 1 minute.
Well, I was hoping that was going to be a subtle thing, you know.
Well, 1 minute silence. I'm going to ask a couple things. So firstly, Madame, for myself as like you could say new promoter in terms of what I do, I unfortunately, you know, all the stuff that's happened to you, I can't unfortunately like change your mind or how you might see my event. I think a lot of things that I learned from my workplace is like positive intent, you know, and if you really, you know, I feel like another thing that angry people, you know, promoters that want to smash up the place. I know one woman that will just not hire, like, you know, would not have promoters in her venue because they talk about buying out the bar and bottles this and da 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 da, because it's more likely to be a fight. But then it's like, as a venue owner, it's another thing of like, are you willing to potentially lose money? Because it's like, if you put me in your venue, I might not make the same bar as the other person, and, you know, and rent has to be paid. But I really want to do it, and you might not want me because it might not make more money, or if you care about that, I'm not too sure. But I'm just saying there is like two sides to it. You know, it's like, you know, I don't think you put those people in your venue because you saw a coin, but you know, you have to pay for the space and your house, and it's like how I don't know, maybe in future it's long, but you might have to find out what else they did, what previous they did, and you know, try and find out through the grapevine, Facebook and that, and see, you know, what people are saying about the event, you know. And Facebook ratings work a lot, you know, with people who like pages and stuff like this. People that give 5 stars, 4 stars, 3 stars, they will leave comments. If people didn't like the night and there was fights and blah, 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 it will get seen. I think it's, if you express that to people to, you know, I want to know what else you've done, and maybe just judging from that. But I know if it was my side, I'd feel so down and bad about fights happening. I've DJ at club nights where a fight has popped off, where people have tried to jump the owner's daughter, and the people that promoted it did not do nothing. I was just like, you know, fights just happen, and it's just not a thing. So yeah.
Thank you.
Sorry, just to answer Jeremy Joseph.
No,
To be
it's
honest,
not Jeremy Joseph.
I know that's Mo.
what it seems.
Yes, but allegedly. I think what you're doing is completely right. Like, I vouch the same thing. Not to go back to, you know, GOI, GOI8, Heaven, XYZ, anything associated with it. Don't really care what X Factor knockoff has gone there. I don't really care about Fortnite or drag queens. It's like, but not everyone's gonna have the same view as you. And to be honest, I have so many friends that will be like, oh, I see how it's a problem, but you know what? You know, the thing is, you kind of just might have to separate yourself from people like that. But I know what you're doing is correct, and if everyone follows the same, you know, the same foot, definitely he won't have all these venues. It's just that there are people that agree with what he said, and you know, there's so many people that agree with what he said, but we can't change any of that. And that comes down to security, what Travis said. To be honest, close security don't really work for me. Heaven is a main place where I get questioned about my own gender and my own, like, oh, are you actually gay? So I don't dress like this, might change it, but usually I just wear a tracksuit to a club. I don't care. And that tracksuit puts a break and goes, oh, that person's a hood, or blah, 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 or he's straight to the dirt. I've heard Heaven bouncers, queer bouncers, have said to people like, oh, like, how are you lesbians? What do you mean, how am I a lesbian? Like, what am I supposed to do? Like, get on my knees? Like, it makes no sense. And the thing is, I have so much issues with queer bouncers, to be honest. Mainly, I mean, and I think in terms of like taking ownership of venues and stuff like this, yes, Thomas is right, it is always down to the venue and they can close you at any time. But me personally, probably have 1 minute. Me personally, I always go into a meeting about a venue and stuff, and I always go, who are the security guards? Do they either go to, you know, H&M, or are they coming from a club aesthetic? Do they know it's a gay club? Do they know what time we're closing? I literally have a meeting with the security, and I think it's just taking all that ownership, even though it is the venue. You're a promoter, so you should take responsibility.
Thank you. Now,
Sorry.
You are not getting another minute again. No, thank you for your point. So I'm going to take Cartel, some more questions from the audience, because we want it to be as participative as possible. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to try and make sense, but I'm just going to warn you, this lager is lethal, so my head is currently going a bit crazy. So I'm going to try and make sense of what I've heard. In regards to the lady speaking about violence in the club, I don't think anyone here on the panel condones violence in the club. But we do have to take into consideration that within LGBT, BAME clubs, it is often volatile places where we have young people experiencing lots of different traumas outside of the clubs, and the club is where they come to release that. So sometimes things happen. What I didn't hear you mention within that, you talked about the promoters, you talked about the DJs, you talked about the patrons, but you didn't mention your own security at the venue at the time. And I think that's really important, because sometimes we have security, heterosexual security, white security, who work in these venues, who don't want to interact with us as queer people, as BAME people, even when we're doing something wrong, like they're kind of see and blind. And actually, some of the best and safest parties that I've been to have been parties with no security and with no authority in place, where people are just allowed to express themselves freely. So that's what I wanted to say in regards to that.
The security was provided provided by the promoter.
Oh, right, okay.
So it was a full package.
Okay, but I also think in response to that, it's important to blame. If a fight happens in the club, you can't blame, we can't be responsible for everybody's behaviour. We can go in there with the best intentions as DJs, promoters and stuff, but if two people are going to fight in the club, those people have decided to fight in the club. And promoters shouldn't really take the flak for that, because we can't control people like that. People are not machines, they're not, pets. We can't tell people how to act. We can give out advice and we can say what is protocol and good behaviour and stuff, but ultimately everybody is their own person within that space and will conduct themselves how they see fit. In regards to what you're saying, I feel like as a community there comes a point when you really have to stop fighting and begging to be included in spaces. So for something like GAY, when people say, I'm shocked, that Jeremy Joseph, I'm not shocked. He's been a racist cunt from day. Sorry, excuse my language. Right?
I apologise for the use of that word.
Sorry for the C words. I told you, I'll blame it on the drink, blame it on the alcohol. But the thing is, those who have been in the community and have been part of the community for a long time, hearing something like Jeremy Joseph make a comment about Somalians within the West End is not going to come as a big surprise or as a big shock. So I feel like as a community, stop paying him mind, stop spending your money in these places that do not want you in these spaces. And I feel like that's as real as it gets. And also we have to be very careful, when you go into the West End, I have this huge issue with black music for white consumption, and it's basically where these spaces want hip-hop, they want bashment, they want, everything associated R&B, but they don't want black people, brown people, Indian people, So that is something we really need to address, because I've gone into venues and they've employed me because I'm a white person of colour, and I look nice on flyers, and oh yeah, he's fine, he plays bashment, but he doesn't, look like the other ones, so he's fine. Oh, you need to shush. So we need to look at all of those things as well, because again, it's all about the profit. It's people taking from the community, but not really investing anything back in. And I just wanted to make note to the Mayor's office. I know there's someone here, Amy, from the Mayor's office. It's very disappointing for me for Sadiq Khan. I voted for Sadiq Khan. I feel like, yeah, he is doing stuff, but it seems to be very concerned with white spaces for gay people, and if you are, and you don't even have to be black to be into hip-hop and bashment or all those things, but if you like that kind of music on a Friday night or Saturday night in London and you want to go to somewhere, there's nowhere to go. You have to force yourself to go in a space you may not feel comfortable, whether it's a straight space or a central London space, and you have to go there and you have to stand up on that like this on the sides with your wonderful Lucasade or Heineken, and you can't even enjoy yourself. So we need to stop concentrating on things like Royal Vauxhall Tavern, which are essential spaces, and we need to think about, we need in London a space which is owned by people of colour for gay, lesbian, queer, transgender, bi, whatever, and it needs to be a community effort. We need that one hub which doesn't just serve as a nightclub, but serves as an educational space and all the rest of it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Just quickly, in my 37 years of being a promoter and promoting mostly for people of colour, lesbians mostly. And I still do that. I run a mixed party, but mostly the people that come to my party are black people. And in those 37 years, I ain't never had no fight in no club of mine. I'm a strong believer, like, you come to my club, you attitude at the door. So it does start from the promoters. Obviously stuff happens, but I think we're getting detracted into the whole violence thing, because I think there's plenty of us out there that don't get into that stuff. As a promoter, I see my responsibility to ensure that I'm inviting people to a space where the security, I don't care what the sexuality is, if the security is not okay, then I can't do the club there. If the people are just there for the money, then that's not going to work for me. So from the time I walk in the door, if I don't feel comfortable, I don't care how much money I could make, I'm not doing the party, and that's how it goes.
Thank you. I'm going to take another few questions, but I just wanted to, both Topher and Mohsin's points. So, Mohsin, on the point about GAY, UK Black Pride, and I'm not sure whether some of you saw this, we actually called Jeremy Joseph out. And we said that we want to meet with you because what you did, whether you apologised afterwards, was unacceptable to our communities. Up to now, he has not wanted to meet up with us, and it hasn't happened, but No, I guarantee you it will happen. Whether the outcome is good or not, we will meet, because we want to report back to the community that we serve and let them know about issues in the community, let them know about the spaces which are not safe for them. Because what we also haven't mentioned on this panel yet is our brothers, sisters, non-binary, queer folk that are asylum seekers, migrants. Language, English is not their first language, and I believe, Danny, you mentioned that, because there is a massive issue there in terms of them being underground. And when you're talking about attacking Somalian people and saying that they're pirates and you don't want them at your club, that struggle of attacking Somalians must also be our struggle, and our struggle must be their struggle. I'm sick and tired of us sort of fragmenting ourselves and saying, oh, that don't affect me, but I'm going to move on and keep on dancing there, because then the space is not safe.
When we march on them.
Well, absolutely. You know, I'm a trade unionist. I will always be out there. I think Topher's question, and I just want, because I'm trying to pick up what hasn't been addressed fully, is about pressure on particular, whether it's your local MP, whether it's the London Mayor. That it's really important. I'm sure we may hear from Amy. I don't. Yeah. But it's really important that when we're talking about safe spaces for us, that the London Mayor is behind us 101%. Now, it's not that he's not, because we have had dialogue as UK Black Pride, because we deal with London Pride, we work with them on the next day afterwards, we have to engage and interact. But of course, there needs to be more lobbying, more pressure, more letter writing, so that we can put some of those structures in place for us. And some of those structures is about the inherent systematic racism that is in our society. And those are the things that have to be addressed. Not alone, and I'm not saying that in isolation, but sometimes you have to look at the root causes to why there are issues that, you know, venues are being smashed up, to why there's a lack of access to particular venues if you're disabled, why if we can't get the right security at our front doors to support our venues. And I think a lot of this comes down to that privilege, that power, and and funding. Right now, we're going through a climate where people have become absolutely emboldened to become very racist post-Brexit, and we're losing services. There's austerity cuts, and I don't mean to turn this into a sort of Debbie Downer, but these are all current issues that affect our everyday lives and that weave themselves into not being able to be free to navigate through our journey of whether we want to be at the clubs or whether we want an education awareness session. So I'm going to stop rambling and taking the time there, but I will take the next couple of questions, and I want you as the panel to think about what you would tell your younger you in terms of accessing venues and what they can do, and also what your call of action would be following this meeting. So, yes, please.
Thank you, Lady Phil, and thank you to the panel. It's my name is Amy LeMay. I'm the Night Czar, and I work very closely with the Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, and I know that we are in agreement that there is absolutely no place for racism in London, on the queer scene, or anywhere in society. And so I think it's amazing that this discussion is happening today, and I'm really pleased that I can be here and listen and report back to everyone at City Hall. I'm here with one of my colleagues, Ed, who's from our Culture at Risk, and so we're going to take all the information back. I want to let everybody know that I have a complete 100% open door policy at City Hall. So you can email me. I've already invited Lady Phil to come and have a meeting with me so we can talk about UK Black Pride and also, some of the wider issues that we're working on around Form 696 and working behind the scenes. I know that, you mentioned we need to save more than just the Vauxhall Tavern. I completely agree with you. I can't get into specifics, but I'm happy to have one-on-one conversation with you about the kinds of things that we've been doing behind the scenes. We also really need to open up these avenues of discussion. That's why tonight is so valuable, because we don't want to be on the back foot on these things. We need everyone to be working together. That's all, like Ms. Kimberly, what you were saying earlier about like having the conversation, working together, you know, it's so essential. And so I just want to give you my email address. Anybody who wants to email me, complete 100% open door policy. I'll either come and meet you, you can come and meet us, but whatever it is we can do to help you and to support, you know, the LGBTQ, Black and minority ethnic community, like across the board. And I know Sadiq is completely behind this as well. So my email address is amy.lemay. You can write it like lame, just leave the accent off, at london.gov.uk. And me and my team will definitely get back to you and hopefully carry on the conversation, because I do agree with you, Toph, for what you're saying about this kind of structural change. And that's why, you know, for me, when the mayor said to me, you know, will you be the night czar? I thought, well, you know, coming from the queer community and running Ducky and, you know, running my club like I've done for over 20 years, you know, I'm bringing a very particular queer perspective into City Hall. So I just want to reassure everybody that, like, in terms of a sort of queer advocate, really, I'm there, like, 1,000,000,000%.
Oh, sorry. I just want to chip in there because I know probably we're not supposed to ask questions, but I feel like because Amy is here, it's important that some questions are asked. You know, you say you're aware of what's going on, and you say, you know, you've been part of the queer scene and you've run your club successfully for 20 years. Well done to you. But since you've been in your post, what have you done for queer people of colour on the scene? Because you say that Sadiq Khan is aware of all this stuff. So why is it that we have to send you emails and tell you what the problems are if you already know what the problems are? And why are you not kind of initiating things already? That would be my question to you. Because you've been around for 20 years, so you know the tea, you know what's going on. So yeah.
I'd like to ask a question of Amy, actually. It's not a question, it's like, it's a question. Are you going to be having this taking this conversation to what I call the gay mafia promoters out there that are always trying to get fuckers over with their venues? It's like, because for me, you know, we could sit here and have this conversation, but like somehow I can't see us getting a community centre or, you know, a social enterprise centre, you know, in the next 10 years. So in the meantime, the people that should be helping us out are those white gay mafia people that don't want us in their club.
Just a little note, the reason, I'd like to answer those questions. The reason why I'm not on the panel tonight, and I was originally meant to be on the panel, is because of the general election. And so I'm under political restriction at the moment. This is not my personal choice. This is a choice that is imposed on me because there's been a snap election. So unfortunately, I can't talk about anything party political, and I'm like, because I think, you know, City Hall know that I'm quite outspoken, they kind of asked me to just like not get myself into, you know. So I'm really happy to have one-on-one conversation with you, and I'd really value that. So, you know, if we could stick around, I'll buy you another one of those very strong beers, and you can carry on telling me your opinions.
And just say, it's 4.7.
Okay.
Strong. Light beer.
I'm not a drinker.
Lightweight.
I also just very briefly wanted to say how lovely it is to see Elaine, because she's put on so many amazing nights. And in terms of Facebook reviews, actually Elaine has been running nights way before the internet even existed. And that woman does not need any reviews on Facebook. She stands alone.
Okay, so I'm going to take a few more questions, and you'll keep the contributions to a sort of timely fashion. Thank you. So, okay, so we've got the person at the back. I see there's two people at the front. There's Trick.
Mikhail. Carly.
Yes,
3.
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead.
Hey, I'm Alon. I just want to ask a question because there was a point you made very early on, and I think it's been lost, was talking about compensatory treatment or getting sponsorship from the white establishment. And I feel that the economic basis of things really compels people when ethics tend to fall to the wayside. So I wanted to ask you to elaborate upon what you meant when you're talking about that. Yeah, during the introduction you were speaking about compensatory measures and going to the people with influence and power to actually not just take but to give.
That's a heavy question, man.
Thank you. What was your name? Sorry.
Hi, my name's Laura. Thank you for putting on this night. I was wondering about people that use venues or work in venues that aren't wheelchair accessible. Is there anything that would stop you doing that besides becoming a wheelchair user? Can I ask another really quick question? And for those of you that use the LGBTI, what kind of do you think about the I? And like, if you do, what are you like doing?
I'd like to say thank you, Danny, for holding your night, avoiding the fights, and the same to Yvonne, and the same to Sadie Sinners, who runs the Coconut Bottle Club. I think there's something about holding the night. I don't know what it is. I went to a night a while ago, and there was a fight there. I had to rush into the cloakroom whilst the cloakroom woman ran out to get security, and that was like shocking. I'll never go back to that night again, unfortunately. I'd just like to know what do you think other people can do, other promoters can do to hold their night and to make it safe for people, basically. Yeah.
Hi guys. Okay, so thanks for everybody for their input. Like, it's really good to hear what people are saying. In terms of, like, I've just started like coming on the scene as a DJ, and I run half of Lush with Smoochie. I've been doing it with Smoochie for about just maybe coming up to 2 years now, and Smoochie's been doing it for a lot longer than me. There's never been anything like this coming up for the promoters to get together. Do you get me? When the nights, there is respect for nights. If Booty's going on, we will try not to be on the same date as Booty. Yeah, there's respect like that, but no one's supporting each other. Yeah, so you're putting on a big night like this, but we're not supporting each other out of this. Yeah, okay, you're talking about Urban World, taking a lot of money from our community and not putting back fair dues. That's a good point. However, Urban World has put nightclubs together, like supporting Booty and Lush are under Urban World, and that's something that has to be good. However, at the same time, we as promoters I don't believe that we're doing enough to support each other in this situation. Like, so we put on this now. What's gonna come from it? Who's gonna follow up the actions?
Okay, and this is the last question, Patrick.
All right, I might need about half an hour, but I'll keep it to 5 minutes. Okay.
2 minutes.
First of all, some really, really good news. Marie Le Pen got defeated in France. The fascists have gone. Off with her head. Yeah. Number two, a quick thought about Amy. There's a nighttime culture consultation going on at the moment until the 31st of May. So you might want to go to the Mayor's website, wherever it is, and fill in your thoughts about how you think diversity in culture can be incorporated into the nighttime planning economy plan, blah, blah, blah. So there be public information messages. Secondly, I think it was Cartel mentioned a club I do called Urban World. Okay, a few people on the radio lately about talking about their statistics. You need to do your maths. I can't take 2,000 in my dreams. Secondly, the prices of admission go from like £7 up right through to 17, so people can get cheaper tickets. As regards putting back to the community, just because it's not on Facebook doesn't mean it doesn't exist. So I spent 2 years working with Lady Phil on the board of UK Black Pride. We've raised money for sexual minorities Uganda, helping people escape from injustice over there. We also have regular HIV testing at the club. You know, every time that club's on, we have a private room where people can go and have HIV tests, get consulted, etc., etc. We work with the domestic violence charity, we work with the police, hate crime charity. Loads and loads of people come into our club, use the space. So if you are part of a community group, say hello, come and have a free stand and reach out to that community. The domestic violence one I think is a really important one. There's immigration ones, there's all sorts. So we have a community area within the club. It is a business, I'm not a charity, yeah? If you want to lift home cartel, I'll take you home in my Ford car that's like 6... No, don't speak for...
No, I'm going to reply to it. You know I'm going to reply to it.
But we're going to hold fire because we're going to get a response back because I know Danny wants to answer the question.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to... There were some great points made. Malone, Laura...
Sorry, can you have like a really quick recap on questions?
Okay, so the question from Malone was about sponsorship. You mentioned at the beginning when you were introducing yourself about how to get sponsorship, and that's one of the things.
Specifically, the compensation, the people who are damaging us, actually doing something to repair that financially.
Yeah. So I'm trying to remember what I said. I'm gonna have a little look. I didn't use the word compensation, so I'm a bit lost. So sponsorship from queer venues, and I know that this funded by the Arts Council, I think so, and things like that. Just having for me money ring fenced from profits for accessibility, and also I know people call it checking boxes and stuff, but you should have more than one kind of black night a week. But that's just my personal opinion, but I think it's true. I had an experience where we had started up, and the only attention we got was when the Orlando tragedy happened, and then we got asked to do a vigil night, and then no one was paid for it, which is fine, and then we were put in the basement, and our set was shrunk to the end, so we had all the people on drugs at our set, and then the white DJs at the top doing what they do and promoting themselves off the back of people murdering Latin American and black people. 1 minute. Okay. So yeah, I think Amy, I'm not sure where she's gone. Hiya. Could maybe have a conversation and have structural change where there is funding put into QTIPOC nights that makes it, to improve accessibility, even if it's giving an event organizer money for a ramp or something, and telling venues, giving them a guide to say, you shouldn't be charging more than this for this kind of night, you shouldn't be charging people this much to put on a night because you're making a profit. I'm not sure if that's exactly answered your question. Okay.
Thank you. There are some other questions, and before I come to cartel.
Let's give it them up with it.
Laura asked a question about when you're putting on your nights, how do you think about the I, which is intersex in LGBTQI? JJ, did you
Yeah. So for me personally, hello. So yeah, when I think about my nights, well, basically my night's not really the specific club night that does the generics and hip hop and stuff. I run vocals, so with what I do, it is more about identity. It is less about partying, how getting drunk. It is about your identity and how you ever see yourself and you feeling comfortable in that space. I try to roll that over into any other club night I kind of do, really, and having that conversation with venues about, someone said about toilet signs, stuff like this. I'll merely not use a venue if they can't use the toilet. And I think, I don't know, I feel like you have to come and feel it, but the kind of thing, I think, for me, I highly think about it just because where voguing comes from historically, if you only seen Paris is Burning, we need to have a conversation. But if you only seen Paris is Burning, you know where it came from, you know. We weren't liked, and as Vogue, even queer, you know, and we made this movement, and this movement now, I stick by what is, you know, 100 years before me, even though I started in 2012, you know. And I don't know if everyone thinks about it, but I, per se, don't really be like, this is LGBTQI, and whatever other letters, you know. I mean, I'm like, this is not I do, and I think as a, you know, one person of colour and a gay, you know, gay male, I think it's the person that is running the night. If you feel comfortable, it must be the person. And I think you can't really answer in a way that's like, yes, I definitely think about identity, but I can just say to you, if you ever want to come down, let me know. I definitely feel about identity.
Thank you, JJ. And Yvonne?
Yeah, I was just going to follow up from what JJ was saying. I mean, my first real positive memory of a club experience was Studio 54 when I was 70 or something, young. And it kind of like changed my whole concept as a, you know, UK-born black gay woman. I was like, oh my God, people could go to clubs and be really happy. But what I really liked about the whole concept about Studio 54 was it was a queer club for queers and their friends. So, you know, I kind of felt less, what's the word, alienated from, you know, the community. I don't run parties. Yeah, I mean, I run parties on the basis that I am a lesbian, but I kind of run them on the basis it's a party. I guess I don't really do clubs, I do parties. So I do Sunday Happy Day. It's a party, it's a mixed party. I have my brothers and sisters come down to it, my nephews come to it, you know, my other lesbian, gay, QTI friends. So we've got a whole range of different types of people in different stages, you know, different descriptions. They're lesbian, gay, straight, whatever stages. For me, I came into the scene as I called myself a lesbian, and then I stopped calling myself a lesbian, I called myself a queer, and now I don't really know what the fuck I'm supposed to call myself. But the bottom line is, my name's Yvonne, and if I throw a party, everybody's welcome, and I want everybody, regardless of who they sleep with or don't sleep with, you know, to have fun, because why are you leaving your house? You know, and that's essentially my premises as a promoter. I get all the politics, but when I leave my house, I kind of want to go out to have a break and party. And so, you know, I do include, I would say categorically, I do include the whole range of people, and I always have done in relation to my parties before we had anagrams and labels and stuff.
Thank you. I'd like to take the question around, Kai mentioned, how do we support each other as promoters?
And that is a really good point. I think if you've been involved in the scene over the years and you've promoted, you know that there is a sense of tension or rivalry between rival promoters. And I guess, like, we definitely do need to work more together, and I think like conversations like that are a good starting point. And I feel like there's probably some things that need to be put to bed with rival promoters, which have happened over the years. But also to pick up on the point that Patrick makes, you know, as he said, his club night is about business, and he strictly sees queer people of colour as business and nothing else. And that's the problem. That's what you said. You said it's a business. But what the point I wanted to pick up, you have 5, 6 queer people of colour nights in your venue. Why does it take one white man to bring all those club nights together and to profit from it when they could just be doing it for themselves? It's not business. What you're doing is you're exploiting the community.
All right, so I have been told by timing, you know, my timing is short. What I want to do, because I think that this can be taken to another level and a different place, and for us as UK Black Pride, we wanted to have this dialogue and look at how we continue to have the dialogue. Some of the very important points that are raised around exploitation, safety, safe spaces, what venues we do have, accessibility, but also the issue about, I think, you know, racism, structural racism that hasn't happened, and also what's our solution? What is our call to action? And I think some of you have raised some really good points about how we can take that forward. So this is not going to end here. This conversation cannot end here, because sometimes we have this great event, we parachute in, and then we parachute back out, and we leave a community up the hill with no way of coming back down the hill. Now, I know that my panel guests really do want to come back in, and I've just been poked. So. And Kaiser wants to say something, which is going to be quite quick.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay, so before Phil finishes, because she will, and I wanted to say something before. How many of you feel like, obviously, this is just like one of many that we have planned, but how many of you feel like we need to do these things more? Just by some noise, show of hands, something? Okay. And would you be willing to email us at UK Black Pride to express that to us? Yeah, we'll give you out. Phil will give all the details out as she closes, but I would just love for everybody who wants this and who would like a space where we can discuss things openly to let us know. Thank you. That's what I wanted to say.
Thank you. So, two very quick points, and they have to be very, very quick. Thomas and Danny, very, very quickly.
This is with regards to trying to put something together that might be considered as some kind of a community space. Now, that is possible. All it needs is really a few individuals being willing to put up some money. All you need is some seed capital. We're not talking a lot of money. But it is something that is possible, that can be done. And I even have venues in mind where that could be done straight away.
All right. Thank you, Thomas. Danny?
Okay, just like another point about accessibility, and I invite kind of all promoters and organisers to do this. There's a charity that's amazing called Attitude is Everything. So that's attitudeiseverything.org.uk, and they will help you for free. They will even contact venues for you, or they will help you structure communication with them, including like your rights, everybody's rights to access, and help you put pressure on them to have an open venue so that I can come to your stuff.
Okay, thank you. Now, as I said, this is not going to be the end of it, and I can sense and feel the burning frustrations of conversations that really need to be had. Now, the only way we can continue to do that is if we get your feedback. Now, this event was put on specifically to try and look at how do we address some of these issues. Now, we know we are not going to be able to address them all. We know that we may just be scratching the surface, but there's money out there, and there's money to be had. And UK Black Pride has not been alive and kicking for 12 years without booting down doors, without going with our hands open and saying, you need to give us. And we will continue to do that. But we also want to continue to look at how we have these open spaces for this sort of dialogue. Now, UK Black Pride is not owned or run by one particular person. It's run by the community, for the community. So the next event that we have, we want to hear your voices. We may even want you to be sat here chairing and moderating this. We may want you to be the panel members. But we can only do that if we hear from you, because our community needs building, and I truly believe that it's a bit fragile at the moment. And that fragility means that we're unable to communicate effectively with each other when we're feeling fragile. So if there's a way of us being able to rip off the sticky band-aid and wipe down the sore, we're going to be able to do that. That was a really crap metaphor that I just used. But, you know, I don't know. I think I'm trying to be too clever at 9 o'clock at night. But there's a lot to be done. And on the 9th of July, this is where you notarise your diaries. You are welcome to attend UK Black Pride, which will take place at Vauxhall Pleasure Gardens. And the theme of UK Black Pride this year is past, present and future. Love happens here. So the past is about decriminalisation, 50 years on. The present is about everything that's happening now, from Trump to Le Pen, to the racism, to the fascism, to the Islamophobia, to all forms of discrimination, and how we fight fear with whether it's love. And to the future is about where we go to next. But we can only do that sort of in a unified voice and coming together. We're not going to be able to agree on everything, and we get that as UK Black Pride. And we're not wanting people to lose their unique selves and just agree. But we have to be able to have dialogue so that we can react as a community proactively to issues like what Jeremy Joseph has said, to what Kai has just mentioned about how do we support one another as club promoters, but also as the community or communities we are in. So we're going to be putting a write-up based on what's been said. We will be meeting with Amy and the team. Obviously, we know that there are certain restrictions at the moment due to PERDA, but I haven't been sat here writing notes at this time of the night because I'm just not serious about it. We are deadly serious about trying to rebuild our community, whether it is about the club scene or whether it is about safe spaces where we get to enjoy ourselves, or whether it's about education and awareness, or whether it's about how we support migrant workers or LGBT asylum seekers. So there's lots to do, but we can only do it together. Now, I don't want to appear like I'm preaching at you, but my one plea is when you leave here today is that you think about what's been said, but also what responsibility do you yourself take to make sure you can make it a bit better, or how or who else do you need to speak to make it better. So as I said, UK Black Pride, we want your comments, we want your feedback, because we are going to write this up. I mean, I'm a policy wonk, so I write everything. I will write a brief for Amy and her team, which it will take them all 2-3 days to read. That's the structural change, Topher, that we're talking about, the lobbying. The email address is info@ukblackpride.org.uk, or you can email Kayser, it's K-A-Y, @ukblackpride.org.uk. And we will be taking this back. I can't stress enough that we're not just going to have this event and walk away and say, oh yeah, that's all right, yeah, oh, did you hear what that person said? No, we want to continue this dialogue, because we also need to learn from the community, because we don't always get it right. So with that, I want to say an absolutely massive thank you to Rich Mix, to Ducky, to Hakeem. Yes, to
Hakeem from Batty Mama.
Yes, to Hakeem, and to our panel, Thomas, JJ, Cartel, Yvonne, Calvin, Danny, Kimberly, to Kayser for putting this on for UK Black Pride. But importantly, for you taking the time to be here, to contribute, to start this discussion, asking questions that we don't necessarily have the answers to right now. So thank you to you. Give yourselves a round of applause. And of course to me, who had to manage you people. So thank you. Go home safely, but do keep in contact. Please be safe.